German car companies can become American car companies. In other words, what I'm saying is they've got to build their plants in America with you people operating them. We can beat China in electronic production. We will, too, using a very similar form, actually a better formula than they have. Manufacturers that have left us will come sprinting back to our shores. Here's the deal that I will be offering to companies and manufacturers all around the planet. We're going to be going after their companies for the first time ever. They've been ripping us off for years, but that's not going to happen anymore. The United States will give you the lowest taxes, the lowest energy costs, the lowest regulatory burdens, and free access to the best and biggest market on the planet Earth, but only if they make their products here in America and hire American workers. That's the whole deal. And if these companies don't take the deal, if they say no, then they're going to have to pay tariffs to come into our country. They're going to have to pay tariffs. And they want to come into our country, they're going to have to pay. And they're not going to send their products made in another country to us, and we have to eat their products. They're produced by other labor, and their labor, we're not going to take it. We will use the hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs to benefit the American citizens. We're not going to let happen what's happened for so many years. The new American industrialism that we create, and it's going to be something, the industry will be beyond anything you've ever seen in this country. We'll create millions and millions of new jobs, massively raise wages for American workers, and make the United States a manufacturing powerhouse once again. So what we're doing... So we're lowering the tax rate for the middle class, for everybody. But we're bringing the small business tax and the business tax down. I got it from 39% to 21%, got it approved by Congress. Everyone said that was impossible to do. Got it approved by Congress. Nobody thought it was possible. Now I'm bringing it from 21 all the way down to 15. So we'll now have the most... So we'll now have... At 21, we were highly competitive. At 15, we're one of the most competitive in the world because we want to bring companies to this country, right? She wants to raise the tax for everybody so they all leave and there go your jobs. Think of it. By contrast, Kamala, known as the taxing queen back in San Francisco, is demanding a 33% tax hike on all domestic production. In addition, she wants the largest capital gains tax in the history of our country, and maybe the history of the world. She even plans a tax of unrealized capital gains. So she wants a tax on unrealized capital gains. So if you don't sell your stock or your company or what, you have to go out. And some companies don't make money, but they're very valuable companies. They'll have to go out and beg, borrow, and steal to pay tax. This is a communist tax, it's called. And it's never used. Nobody's ever even heard of using it. But it's no good, and it's something that we're not going to let happen because we will be driven into a depression the likes of which we probably only seen in 1929. Kamala Harris already cost the average family $29,000 with her rampant inflation, and now she's coming back for more. So we're not going to let that happen. Her plan would raise taxes by $4.1 trillion, hiking the typical family's taxes by, congratulations, $2,600 a year, reducing GDP because people won't do business here. They're going to all leave. Our companies are going to leave. You know, got to remember, these companies are smart, and they have people, they love the country, or in some cases they don't. Some cases they're run by people that aren't from our country, but they always look for the best deal. And they go to Europe, and they go to the medical industry, went to Ireland largely. They go to the country that offers them the best deal. They go to China. China loves to have them. But it's going to be reducing GDP by 2%, lowering wages by 1.2%, and killing off almost 1 million full-time jobs. That's her thing. It's crazy. Harris is right now shutting down power plants across the country, causing electricity prices to soar by more than 100%. You see what's happening? It's amazing. They want to go to an all-electric car. Listen to this. Which will, by the way, destroy your business in Michigan. They want to go to an all-electric car, right? But in California, where they're going all-electric, they have blackouts every week, and brownish because they don't have enough electricity. So they have to figure that one out. But it's driving us into a third world status by attacking the entire fossil fuel industry, which is, unfortunately, that's the industry. If you want to fire up your big plants, you're not going to do it through wind. The wind isn't blowing, darling. Let's turn on the television. Let's try it anyway. I want to see President Trump make a speech tonight. No, no, darling, the wind isn't blowing. We have no juice in the house. We have no juice. If Kamala Harris, I mean, think of this, her America, if you ship production overseas, she will give you a tax break. In other words, her tax break, this is her plan. It's a plan for stupid people. Her tax break is that you'll get a tax break if you ship your product overseas. No, it's supposed to be the opposite. With her tie-breaking vote on what I call the Inflation Creation Act, supposed to call the Inflation Reduction Act, remember? And they admitted it was a scam. It's not a name because it had nothing to do with inflation except raising it. It was really a way of getting money for the Green New Scam. So they actually admitted the Inflation Reduction Act was a scam. But I call it the Inflation Creation Act. I actually like the way that sounds pretty good. She is going to create tremendous inflation. She's sending billions of dollars to Chinese battery factories, Chinese solar factories, and Chinese electronics factories. And we don't have to send anything. All we have to do is make it expensive for them to send their product into the United States. And they will end up building, or somebody else will, those plants in the United States. In other words, tariffs to me are the most beautiful word. Other than my chart, I love that chart. Other than my chart, it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. It's going to make our country rich. Unfortunately, we have a lot of stupid politicians in Washington. They don't like it. It's actually they're learning, though. They're figuring it out. It'll make our country rich again. Our country right now owes $36 trillion. It's going to make us very rich very fast, and the rest of the world will be living with it, and they'll be fine, and we'll help people out, too. But it's time that we took care of ourselves. It's time we put America first, right? We got to put America first. And it's no wonder that under Kamala Harris, we lost 25,000 manufacturing jobs in August. You know that, right? That was the last reporting period. We lost 24,000 jobs. Manufacturing jobs, good jobs. But this horrific nightmare for American workers ends the day I take the oath of office. It ends. We will cut energy and thank you. Thank you. I love you too. Stand up, please. Who said that? Oh. Such a beautiful voice. I said, stand up. That's a beautiful voice, beautiful person. Thank you very much. We will cut energy and electricity prices in half within 12 months. So, again, your energy costs for your home, your car, your air conditioning, your heating, all of it, all is going to be cut by 50% within 1 year. Because that's what drove up the price of everything. And we will also quickly double our electricity capacity. We're going to have, you know, the AI, artificial intelligence. People don't know. It's a big deal. I don't know, good or bad. Who the hell knows? You know, I think it's got some drawbacks. If you want to know the truth, there's some big drawbacks to it, but that's going to be the hot thing. That's going to be really the hot thing. And in order to do it and compete with China, they're already building massive electric plants. We will need double the electricity produced in our country right now in order to do it. And we'll have that. If I get it, we're going to have electricity, the likes of which we're going to build plants. We're going to build them next to the factories, and we're going to get very quick environmental impact statements approved immediately. It's not going to take 14 years to get them approved. You know, we had a big refinery, like it was $16 billion, one of the biggest in the world, in Louisiana. And a very big, beautiful, it took them 14 years and they were rejected on the environmental impact statement because there was one line, and they made for that one line. The thing was like 28,000 pages long. 28,000 pages. They covered every fish ever developed. There was never a fish that wasn't discussed in this statement. But they had one half of a sentence that was not good. They made him do it all over again. Anyway, they're in there for 14 years. I come into office and they complained, and it was a foreign country actually putting like $14 billion into our country. And I said, how long have they been working on it? Like 12 or 13 years. I said, 12 or 13 years, and now they're getting fed up. I think they're going to leave, sir. I approved it in one day. It was done. And it's built. It's built. It's built and operating. It's built and operating, and then we got another one approved quickly, because that's good. That's not bad. That's good. And it's really incredible. I've never seen a building so big. It's like 3 Empire State Buildings laying on its side. It's got more pipes in it than anything. I said, what the hell is it? All pipes. I don't care. All I know is it's producing like crazy, and everybody's happy. I got it done immediately. With the lowest energy prices on Earth, we will attract energy-hungry industries from all over the planet and millions of blue-collar jobs. And the reason we can do that is because, again, we have more liquid gold under our feet than anybody else. Otherwise, nobody else could do this but us. We're in position to do it. Instead, we're going all electric, and we don't have that. Although we do have some, and it's usually controlled by the environmentalists. We're going to uncontrol it pretty quick. It's called rare earth. We have some great rare earth science areas, but we're not allowed to touch it. Because if we touch it, the world will come to an end, they say. If we dig a little bit like China does and like other countries, we have some great rare earth. You know what rare earth is? To make different things, including chips and batteries and things. We have some incredible sites, but they're all taken totally off the market because some guy sitting there with very thick glasses looks at it and says, that's an environmental site. And now we can't develop trillions of dollars worth of value, so we're going to be unfreezing a lot of stuff that's been sitting there for millions of years. And it'll be there long after we're gone. We will set up special zones on federal land with ultra-low taxes and regulations for American producers, and entice the relocation of entire industries from other countries into ours. So think of it. We have low energy, we have low regulation, and we have low taxes. Nobody can do that but us, but we have to do it, and we'll do it quickly. I have pledged to remove the 10 old, and think of this, 10 old and burdensome regulations for every new regulation. So if we put a new regulation in the book, which is not going to happen often, we have to reduce 10. And nobody cut regulations as much. Nobody cut regulations as much as I did, as you remember. Nobody cut them even close to what I did in the first term. 4 years. In 4 years, I cut regulations more than any other president in the history of our country by far. And that's why you had the best job numbers in the history of our country. You had them because companies were building, they were building so much they didn't even need what they were building, all right? That was a problem too. But they were building like they'd never built before. We had the best job numbers ever. African American, Hispanic American, women, men, people with no high school degree, people with degrees from the highest, best colleges in the world. And speaking of great colleges and smart people, how good did J.D. Vance do the other night? Didn't you do great? I drafted the best athlete. You know, Vince Lombardi, you say, go for the best athlete. But I had 12 people that would have been fantastic. But J.D. did a fantastic job at the debate. And his competition that night, he cannot be president. He cannot be president of the United States. If you want your incomes to plummet, your net worth to collapse, your tax bills to soar, your jobs to disappear, then vote for Lion Kamala to be the tax queen, to be your president, because if you want to do all those things where your country goes to hell, where your country ends up in a 1929-style depression, then vote for Kamala. But if you want Washington bureaucrats to keep their greedy hands off your money, and by the way, we're moving the Department of Education. We're moving. Your state is going to control your children's education. We're moving it out of Washington immediately. And, you know, we were going to do that, but then we got the COVID thing came in, the gift from China. The China virus came in, and we had to hold up. But we're going to be moving. Because think of it. We have the worst we're like number 40 out of 40. We're right at the bottom of the pack, 38, 39, and 40. Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and I hate to say China. Those are the top four, and others, but those are generally the top four. But I'll tell you where we're number one, cost per pupil. We're number one by so much, it's not even close. So we spend more per pupil, and yet we're ranked at the bottom of the list. So here's what we're doing. We're going to let the great state of Michigan run your education. We're going to let Iowa run its education. We're going to let Idaho run their education. We're going to let Florida run their lots of great. Now, the way I look at it, many of those states, I would say 35 or close to 40, will have education the equivalent of Norway, of Denmark, of countries that do very well. You're going to have then the laggards, too. You're going to have some like let's say, you had Newsom, like California will have a problem. We'll help them out a little bit, but they're going to have to run their own education. It's going to really make, I think we're going to soar. And, you know, you can do it for about half the cost, too. We spend more money. We have building after building you pass in Washington, D.C., Department of Education, Department of You say, what the hell do all these people do? Here's what I need. I need one good person, let's say, to be the secretary. And then I need a real secretary that takes stenography. I need two people because I just want them to make sure they teach English, that they teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. And we're going to do that very fast. We're going to do that very fast, and it's going to be great. But to do that, you have to vote for Trump, and you have to do it fast. You have to do it very quickly. And, you know, while I'm on the subject of smart people, I want to thank Elon Musk. He endorsed me, but more importantly, he endorsed me strongly. He said, you better vote for Trump if you want to save your country. And he's a smart cookie, but he did something else. I was in Georgia the other day, and after the floods, and they were having tremendous problems, in particular in North Carolina. You can't even get in. They were wiped out. They had no communication whatsoever. And they said, do you know somebody named Elon Musk? I said, I happen to know him. He just endorsed me. They said, is there any way he does a product, Starlink? Did anyone ever hear of Starlink? And it's another one of his genius products. It is genius, too, actually. And they said, is there any way? Because North Carolina, in particular, has absolutely no communication. We can't communicate. You can't get there. You just can't talk. And many people are missing. You know, it's really bad. It's really, really bad. Many people are missing. And our federal government is doing so badly. So I said, Elon, can you do us a favor? Can you take care of it? He had, within 45 minutes, planes and helicopters loaded up with this equipment, and they were having perfect communication within less than 24 hours. It was unbelievable. And I said to the person that got me and made the request, who's over there really suffering too, I said, well, what's the difference between that and what they had with the hard wire? They said, actually, the hard wire is not as good. Think of that. So this man got, and he also said, just take it. You'll pay if you can. I mean, people are getting these expensive systems from him, and we really owe him a debt of gratitude. Elon Musk. Great. Not a lot of people would have done that. Most people could not have acted that fast either. He got it right away. They were starting to load, I think, before the phone conversation ended. So we have to thank him. I wish our federal government could move like that, right? Instead of spending money on people that are ruining our country. I delivered you the largest tax cuts in American history, and we'll do it again. We're going to get them lower, but we're going to do something else. No tax on tips. No tax on overtime. And no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. Right? That's a good one, too. That last one's so good. But, look, our seniors were devastated by inflation. They don't get rich by this, but we're going to give them back essentially what they lost. They were destroyed by inflation. Their fixed income, they were destroyed. But also, they worked so hard. This was a young waitress came up to me. How you doing? Well, I'm having problems. The government was after her for tax on tips. I said, oh, you have to pay tax on tips? Who the hell knew that, right? But they do. And very nasty. The government was very nasty. And I said, what do you recommend? They said, it's really unfair. We shouldn't have to pay tax on tips. You know what's going to happen? You're going to end up doing a lot more business, I think. I think you're going to actually end up. But so remember, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. And with overtime, too. I think that could be a profit-making deal, too, because I think you're going to have a lot more overtime if you do that. Because of that, you're going to end up with a lot more overtime. I used to hate to pay overtime. When I was in the private sector, as they say, oh, I don't want overtime. I shouldn't tell you this. I'd go out and get other people and let them work regular time. That's terrible. I'd say, no, get me 10 other guys. I don't want to have time and a half. I don't want to have. But it'll be great. I mean, it'll be, those three things are great. But our seniors really deserve it because they've been decimated. And the seniors, please vote for Donald Trump, okay? Because they're not doing it for you. They're not doing it. Get out and vote. And get all your seniors out to vote. Nah, you're not a senior. Sit down. He's not. He's no senior. He's about 30 years away from being a senior. We're going to take back our auto industry for Michigan. And, it's supposed to be the car capital of the world. I call it the lack of car capital of the world because when it was called the car capital of the world, it was many years ago. It's the lack of car capital, but we're going to make it again the car capital of the world. We're not going to let them steal your business. And it'll end up being bigger and better and more beautiful and more important than it was at its height. And that was a long time ago. You're going to have a lot of companies move. Right now, China is building a major auto plant in Mexico, actually two of them, among the biggest in the world, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States and destroy Michigan and South Carolina and other places that make cars. Not going to happen. And you know why it's not? Because I will put 100% tariff on every car, and it's going to make it impossible to sell their car here. And I'll tell them that the only way that they're going to get rid of that tariff, and it's the only way, is if they build the plant, not in Mexico, but in the United States, and our people operate the plant, okay? And this is going to happen a lot. This is going to happen a lot. Harley Davidson, I was with them at the White House, and I said, how are you doing? I said, good. I said, how do you do in India? Oh, no good. Why? Because they have 200% tariff. I said, so you can't sell with a 200% right now. But they said, if you come in to our country and build a plant, we won't charge you any tariff. You have no tax to pay. And they said, oh, I said, what are you going to do? Well, I don't think so. They did it. I knew they were going to do it. They went in because they were sort of forced to go in. But we're doing the same thing. Build your plant in the United States of America, and you're not going to have to worry about tariff. It doesn't make any difference. So we're going to make so much money. We're going to bring back so much business. And I think this state will be the biggest beneficiary because your car business, your auto manufacturer will be bigger than it ever was. And you'll have more jobs than ever before. I will terminate Lion Kamala's electric vehicle mandate and end immediately the Green New scam. Comrade Kamala Harris voted for a bill to impose a 100% ban on gas-powered cars and trucks. Can you believe it? Killing an estimated 200,000 U.S. auto jobs, including 40,000 auto jobs in Michigan. It's a death sentence for the Michigan economy and for the industry, frankly. I don't know. You have a guy named Sean Fain. I don't know who he is, but this guy has to be the dumbest union leader. He was okay by saying we're going to build 100 very shortly. They want 100% electric cars. That's going to put you out of business because China has everything necessary for electric. We have everything necessary for a gasoline-powered car because of our liquid gold. And I'm not against electric cars, but we're going to have also gas-powered cars. We're going to have hybrids. We might someday have hydrogen. Did you ever hear of hydrogen? That's the new thing. That's the new hot thing. No, hydrogen's the hottest thing going. It's too hot. You know what happens? When there's a problem, it's bad. The car blows up, and you're not even recognizable when this happens. It's like, it's a disaster. They tell me about, and I say, are there any problems? Well, there's one problem. When a car goes bad and when it blows up, the person driving the car is not recognizable. So I think I'm going to pass on that particular car, if that's it. They said, oh, well, we'll figure it out. I said, you better do a lot of figuring because this does not sound good. It's not off to a good start. While I'm president, no state in America will be permitted to ban gas-powered cars or trucks, and I guarantee it. No way. No way. You're going to make them right here. You're going to make them here. Over the past 4 years, Kamala Harris has unleashed nothing but chaos and suffering for American labor. With historic inflation, she's made life excruciating for the blue-collar workers who make this country run, and now our entire nation is paying the price. You see what's going on, right? If I was president, the longshoremen strike affecting the entire East Coast and indeed the entire nation would never have happened in the first place. And just so you understand, they were hurt very badly by inflation. They were hurt very, there's two sides to every story. The issue should have been settled by Harris and Biden. They don't even know what's happening. I don't even think they know what's happening. I doubt, Joe, what do you think of the longshoremen strike? What? It's affecting trade. It's affecting half of the country, Joe. Maybe all of the country. I don't know about it. And she won't ask about it. That's why she won't have a news conference. I did one the other day in Wisconsin. It lasted like for 2 hours. They asked me so many questions, the press was exhausted by the time. They were exhausted. I love seeing that. They're just exhausted. They're looking, gotcha. I got you. If you don't read a big story, that means they didn't get you. They want to get you so badly. They're sick. Look at all of them back there. But the fact is, we don't have the kind of president that we need. We don't have a real president. We have the most incompetent vice president in the history of our country, and by far the worst president in the history of our country. Jimmy Carter, a very nice man. Jimmy Carter is the happiest man. He just celebrated his 100th birthday. He's the happiest man in the history. Yeah, just celebrated 100 years. Just celebrated. His wife passed away, Rosalind, not too long ago. My wife, the great First Lady, went. And Jimmy was pretty old then. He's a little older now. I tell you, he's so happy because his administration was considered brilliant compared to what we have now. Jimmy Carter was a brilliant president compared to Joe Biden and Kamala. Under my leadership, America's workers won't have to go on strike for better wages or a better life because they will once again have a champion for them in the Oval Office. I'll be their champion. Believe me, I will be their champion. And I'll bring back the American dream. I don't know how long this strike is going to go on, but if it's on with me, I'll get it back pretty quickly, I think. For the longshoremen and all of the other people that have been hurt so badly by inflation. They've been really hurt badly by inflation. No matter what they make. I mean, you probably have inflation, real numbers, 50, 60, 70%. Some things went up 100%, 125%. Look at interest rates, though. Seriously. Take a look at interest rates. You want to buy a home. I had 2%. Now it's much more than 10%. Somebody said it's 10%, but you can't get the money. I said, that means it's higher than 10%. That's what that means. The Trump Republican Party is the party of the American worker, and it's also the party of common sense. And it always will be. My pro-worker policies are one of the major reasons why I've been overwhelmingly endorsed by the rank-and-file membership, first time it's ever happened, of the Teamsters, including 62% of the Teamster members in Michigan. Are any of them in this room? Who?